Welcome to your Healing Place podcast with Linda and Mindy. It is our desire to address common concerns of how abortion and faith intersect in order to validate the emotional pain and grief that abortion can bring and give hope that recovery is possible. Welcome to your Healing Place podcast with Linda and Mindy. And today Ginger is with us and Linda is not. I was going to say that backwards. Ginger is our leader for our monthly support group. It's a drop-in, no commitment group. It's called On Even Ground. And if you're interested in that, you can go out to our website and fill out an interest form, sign a disclaimer, and then you can get the link to join us and drop in whatever a topic interests you, or you just need a little bit of community, or maybe you're having an issue and you just want to hear from some other ladies and you just get some support that way. So we'd love to have you. But today we're going to talk about a topic that is sensitive, hard, really hard for some women and not so hard for others. And that is considering the idea that your baby has an identity. So our babies are in heaven. There's scripture to support this. But they are not genderless and they are not without identity. They're not without a name. When we go to heaven, we're going to have a new name. We're going to know each other. We're going to have identities. We're going to be able to distinguish between each other. We're not all going to be the same in heaven. And for some women, this is really, really hard to give yourself permission to name your child and consider the gender, because as Ginger said, we were talking in a previous conversation, that it makes the sin really real. It brings it front and center. You have to be able to then acknowledge what you've done. And without putting identity to that child, it's kind of easier to kind of keep what you've done at a distance and not fully acknowledge that sin.
That is very true. It makes it real. It for me, when I first went through the Bible study, I didn't even know okay, as a parent, you have the honor to be able to name your child.
That's true.
And I never thought that I had that privilege until I went through the Bible study and we came to that chapter and that point where we were naming our babies. And I thought, wow, what an honor, what a blessing that I get the opportunity to select a name. And it made it, it not only made it real, but it gave me a sense of connection that I hadn't had before. Because 30 years ago, when we were told it wasn't a baby, it was just a blob, of tissue. And so I never really considered it past that. But once you go through that process, and it can be scary, but it's so important. It's just incredibly important that you allow yourself to go through that process, give your baby value and make them real by giving them a name. I had a quick story here from when I was single, living alone. I had a goldfish. I thought, oh, this would be great. I can get a goldfish and less maintenance than a dog. And so I got my goldfish and I took care of it for a couple of years. I gave it a name and then it died. And I felt so bad because I was so connected to it because I gave it a name. And then I thought, oh, my next fish, I am not going to give a name so I don't have that connection and then feel the sorrow that goes with it. So when you name, for me, when I named my child and I gave them that value, It then gave them a permanent seat at the table of my heart. It allowed, it made it real, and it almost kind of gave me a sense of excitement because now I can visualize better and know that I'll be able to meet them when I'm in heaven.
It gives them humanity and dignity in your heart. In order for us to have an abortion, we had to disregard their life. We had to disregard their personhood, their value, their humanity in order to do that. To some degree, wherever that degree landed in your story. And by naming them, it says you're important. You have value. And I'm going to acknowledge that as your mother. And as mothers, it is such an honor to be able to do that. In fact, we're really the only ones who will do that. Nobody else is considering these children. Nobody else is crying over them, grieving over their loss. But we are, and this is a way that we can say the give back from what we've taken. And it's just a really beautiful, sweet ceremony and tribute to your child to be able to do that. We're not looking at our children to forgive us. That's not their role. That's God's role. But we're acknowledging the motherhood that we lost. Our children are always with us. I always say abortion takes the child from your arms, but never from your heart. It doesn't negate our motherhood. We're still a mother. We'll forever be a mother. Once we get pregnant, we are a mother to that child. And the way they died does not take away from the value of their life. So yeah, it makes it real. It makes us have to fully acknowledge. But isn't that the beautiful part between you and God, is to fully acknowledge your part, your sin, and then to fully be able to receive the forgiveness that comes with that. Thank you for listening. This podcast was inspired by the many conversations had through the years with women struggling from the emotional pain associated with abortion. Thank you for allowing us into your healing journey. Subscribe on major platforms where podcasts can be heard. Learn more about virtual abortion recovery healing at www.anevenplace.com. The link is in the show notes.